Welcome to another video from Gweilo 60. Every once in a while, well, not every once in a while, I get a little bit political when I see things going on that just frost my ass. On March 2nd of this year, the US kicked out 60 employees of 5 Chinese media outlets in the United States. Yeah, they just revoked their visas and bang, you guys are gone. But then on March the 17th, the Chinese government said, well, there's a number of journalists that we're not going to renew your visas. We're going to expel you from our country. They were from the New York Times. They were from the Wall Street Journal. I think it was the Washington Post was the other one. Oh, and I got, shortly after that, I got approached by the Wall Street Journal. They wanted me to do an interview with, I can't remember his name. And I thought, well, Wall Street Journal, well, yeah, and then I started thinking, aren't they the ones that did the Sick Man of Asia column and had 3 of their journalists expelled from China for that unfair reporting practices? So I shook my head and said, no. But so the United States kicks out 60 employees of 5 state-run media outlets in the United States. Then China on the 17th of March, a couple weeks later, expels a number of journalists out of China. Okay, tit for tat, I guess that's fair. And then the United States comes back and says, well, they expelled some of our journalists out of China. They're being unfair. They're you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, but not when you're dealing with the United States. I think it's one of those things that there's a double standard, or they think that there should be a double standard there, and that frosts my ass. The States even goes as far as to say, well, they're hiding facts. They don't want our journalists to know about this, that, or the other thing. But, you know, smoke screen, guys. No, it's because you kicked out 60 employees of state-run media out of the United States, Chinese state-run media out of the United States. So they sort of just returned the favor, guys, and trying to smoke screen it by saying, oh, they kicked out our journalists because they don't want us to be reporting on what? The CV? What? The Uyghurs? What? The South China Sea? What? Authoritarian government? What? You know what I mean? Like, it's been reported so much. It's just like it's psychobabble now. Everybody knows your stance on these things. Everybody's heard it a number of times, but if you say it loud enough and long enough, people will start to understand it. And that's what's behind what they're doing here. They say China was trying to undermine free media. What a joke. Free media, but it's only free if it's American media. If it's Chinese media, it's propaganda. So if the United States does hit pieces on China, well, that's news. But if China does hit pieces on the United States, that's propaganda. You see where that word thing comes in again? I made a whole video about this. Actually, it got 1 million hits on Weibo. But the idea that they spin these words from, you know, government to regime, from news to propaganda, you know, anything that suits their own narrative. There is one small difference. Well, actually, it's a pretty big difference. You see, the States lost high-profile journalists to this tit for tat, where China basically lost low-level state media employees that really didn't have a lot of high-profile news items, I guess is what you want to call them. You know, so they were reporting on just basic stuff around the United States and government decisions and whatever, where the journalists in China were high profile. What does that even mean, you guys? So your journalists are more important than the Chinese journalists is what that means. Well, these guys are just low-level journalists. They don't report on, you know, very important things. But our journalists, no, that's a different story. You know what I mean? It's like, holy smokes, you guys are more important than we thought you were because you say you're more important than we thought you were. And What did Trump always say? This is fake news. Well, you know it is. I got to give him kudos for that. When he saw fake news and he saw bullshit journalists and he saw all this garbage out there, he called it what it was, fake news. And now that's what you're seeing out of the States media, UK media, Canada media, yes, Australian media, and New Zealand media, the Five Eyes. These guys are all in cahoots. It's the old boys club type thing. And they all stick together, and they're all pointing their fingers at China. The United States would have you believe that their journalists are telling the truth, and the Chinese media is just towing the party line. Have you watched Fox News lately? Holy smokes, man. I'm telling you, these guys are borderline psychotic. Like, seriously, if you want to watch a comedy with a little bit of terror and stupidity put in, watch Fox News. Actually, CNN and CBC and BBC. But Fox is by far the worst. So they're saying that that's real journalism. And whatever comes out of China is propaganda. It's like, holy smokes, you guys, towing the party line? Where the hell do you get this shit? You see, back in the olden days, the governments would talk to each other, and they would make concessions for journalists, media outlets, and whatever. Oh, well, this guy did this. Well, we'll tell him not to do that. Yeah, or we'll kick him out. Okay, well, you know, and it goes back and forth. But the journalists were basically left to do what they do. Basically lying, toe the party line, whether you're Chinese or whether you're American or Australian or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But the idea is that before Trumponomics took hold, people would talk back and forth and everything would be fine. You know, it would just go on like a normal, we don't like you, you don't like us, okay, we're just doing our job, okay, back to work. Now it's like they don't say anything, they just boot people out, and then there's a tit for tat, and you know, there's no diplomacy there, there's no understanding, it's gotten to a different level. And you know where all of this started with the Trump administration is that they finally figured out that China was not going to adopt the democratic way of government. Okay, and as soon as they figured that out, and China's not, because the government that they've got, the people like it. It works for the country. It works for everybody. It's making everybody their lives better. They're getting richer. China's expanding. China's getting bigger, stronger, faster than any other country in the world, and this scares the living bejesus out of the powers to be, the ones that have been the powers for the past couple hundred years. And this is why they're starting in. And you see, what they're doing is they're actually weaponizing the media. They're using it to turn the heads of the population of their countries. And this probably isn't a good thing. You look back in history, and once you get a population that hates another country, bad things can happen. And you know, that's not outside the realm of reality in this day and age. And if that shit hits the fan, well, oh man, you gotta understand. The Americans have to understand this, and understand this good. China is not in Iraq. It's not in Afghanistan or a Lebanon. It's not a Venezuela. China is huge. 1.4 billion people. An economy that the rest of the world sort of just dreams about. They've got a massive military. They've got power. All of the people are patriotic, and I don't think you want to screw with these people. I know I don't. They would eat Canada in a split second. The United States, sure, they got a big military power, but I think you need more than that. I don't think that they could afford to get into a scuffle with China, so they're trying to do it. They're trying to turn the rest of the world against China through media outlets, showing how bad it is here. Well, guys, it's not bad here, but the idea of weaponizing the media is a rotten thing to do. Changing the minds of people to change your people's ideology about another country is just downright evil. The states have gone as far as in 2019 every Chinese media outlet employee has to register as a foreign agent. What does that mean? Well, it speaks loud enough that you know exactly what it means. They could be labeled spies, they could be subversives, they could, there's lots of different things. But they had to register as foreign agents in 2019. Oh, and here's another one. Now the United States is talking about limiting Chinese people's access to large American platforms like YouTube, yes, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, things like this, because they say that they can spread propaganda on these platforms. Okay, so talk about censorship. Now, let's talk a little bit about censorship. Holy smokes. So you're going to take 1/5 of the world's population and you're going to deny them a word on your platforms because some of them might spread propaganda or their view on your platform. Would that be like putting your view out there on Weibo, Toutiao, Bilibili? Because I know that my videos are all over Bilibili and Toutiao and Weibo. And I speak my mind. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. Some of it's pro-China, some of it's anti-China. Well, not really anti-China. Things I see here that I don't like. But they haven't throttled any of that back on any of these Chinese platforms. So who's the country that's censoring? Like this, isn't this what the States has been screaming bloody murder about over the last 10 years? That the Chinese don't have free speech. The Chinese can't say what they want. The Chinese are being told what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. And now the United States is thinking of censoring 1/5 of the world's population on their platforms. Holy smokes. See how the world turns, guys? Yeah. So it's only okay when you're on the top and you're winning. But when you start losing, you can use any tactic in your toolbox that you deem necessary. And now Mr. Pottinger, he's a National Security Council, whatever. He's part of the Trump administration. Is pushing the conspiracy theory that the CV started in a Wuhan biolab. And this is your politicians. Well, the Wuhan wet market didn't work out. We've got to pin it on China somehow. So like now we've got top administration people from Trump administration stating conspiracy theories, anything to soil the reputation of the Chinese government and the Chinese people. Well, and it goes out on like I think that came out in the Washington Post. So you get into places like that, and it's circulating through high-level newspapers in the United States, and people read this and they're going to believe it just for the fact that it came out of the Washington Post. I'm sure it'll be in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and all of these other places, newspapers. But the idea that it comes out of top administration, out of the White House, conspiracy theories, holy smokes. And you guys take these guys seriously? Oh, I don't get it. And get this, the White House said after the Chinese expelled a bunch of these journalists out of China, after the Americans expelled a bunch of state employees of the media out of the United States, they said, oh, we never saw that one coming. And this is your intelligence community, guys. Holy, well, we're going to kick 60 of these state media employees out of our country, and there's not going to be any retribution. We didn't see this coming? Really? So when the rest of the world is blaming China for everything, kicking out journalists out of China, about, just basically anything that goes on, authoritarian government, censorship, and all of these different things that go on, maybe the people of the world should sort of take a look around at other countries and see what they're doing, and see if the people that are spouting these nasty words, these conspiracy theories, all of these things that have been said bad about this country, China, maybe they should be looking at themselves. Maybe they should be looking at their own governments. Maybe they should be looking at their neighbors' governments and seeing that basically it's the same everywhere, only some countries are ostracized a lot more than others. And I think China's been taking it on the chin from all of these media outlets, from newspapers to news channels on television to social media to you name it. So maybe, just maybe, you should be taking a look at yourself. Anyway, that's another video from Gweilo 60. If you like this video, as always, like, comment, subscribe, push that share button. Thanks for watching. Resubscribe, hit the bell, make a comment. Be sure to make a comment. And as always, put a couple bucks in the children's Patreon account. It's for a good cause. It's for poor rural Chinese children. They just need a helping hand. We can give them that helping hand. Help me, help them. Thanks for watching. Bye now.